finally, a source of raw, real, and honest information on healthcare issues that matter most. Welcome to BS Free MD. From the latest medical information to how to stay sane as a doctor or a patient, no subject is taboo and no BS is allowed. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Doctors May and Tim Hindmarsh.
Now.
Hey everybody, we're back. Happy to see you again, and you're here for a special episode again of Doctales with Cocktails. We're super excited to be bringing you our favorite libations along with a little fun this week. This week's topic is
stuff patients say, or another way to say it is shit patients say. Let's be honest. Doesn't matter what your career is. Doesn't matter if it's medicine. One of my best friends is a mechanic, tremendous mechanic. And the stuff that people ask him to do, my personal favorite is somebody brought a car in, a relatively modern car, and it was not running correctly.
right.
And he went in and turned it on to do the diagnostics, and they had taken a piece of tape and put it over the check engine light, because the check engine light had been on so long that it was irritating them. He's had people try to stab screwdrivers through the dash to turn off the check engine light instead of maybe just check the engine. So yes, every career has it, and medicine does as well, because you know what? Everyone's an amateur gynecologist until proven otherwise.
I think that's sad. Anyway.
Kind of sad. So we're going to go through our favorites. Tonight's cocktails are actually quite interesting. May, why don't you start off with one of your favorite wines?
Yeah, this is from my favorite wineries, Wyest Vineyards. They're from Hood River, Oregon. And, man, I've been a wine club member. I can't remember how long now. But they have a beautiful mixture of reds and whites, whatever you like. And tonight I am tasting...
I would like a nice tweed wine. Do they have any tweeds?
I think if you mix red and white, you might get tweed. I don't know how that would taste.
Or a nice beige or mauve.
Yeah,
they are very good.
Anyway,
And Wyest, you should sponsor us because we drink a lot of your wine.
I'm going to reach out. So I would say that what I'm drinking tonight is a 2018 Reserve Chardonnay, estate grown. And most of the time I gravitate to unoaked Chardonnays because I don't like the oaky taste. But this one is really good. It is sort of a light, a little buttery, but it's got a pear, lemony zhuzh to it, which I really like. And it's not heavy oaky. But I'll tell you,
if you actually go to Oklahoma, there's a tremendous number of heavy Okies. I hear their obesity rate is like sky high.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I want to be an Okie from Muskogee drinking a non-Okie Chardonnay.
That sounds like a great song.
When I make you laugh like that, we're going to start something called the Cackle Cam.
No, it's not
Yes,
cackling.
the
it's
Cackle
stupid
Cam.
laughing.
The Cackle Cam is coming.
Anyway.
Say Cackle Cam really fast.
Cackle Cam.
Yeah, man.
Okay, I've
have
had
another drink.
One sip. We haven't even got to our show. So I would just like to say the Wyest, you should check out their website. It is at wyestvineyards.com. It's a really fun place to visit, but also one of their favorite reds, if you're into red, is their blue chip Pinot Noir. Oregon is known for Pinot Noirs in the valley, and I always like to gift people a Pinot Noir from there. And
Pinot Noir, Ode to a Black Man's Penis?
Stop. Okay, unless people have seen that, they're not going to get that joke.
Well, it's the, what is it?
Kimmy Schmidt.
Kimmy
Schmidt, it's not The Secret Life of Kimmy Schmidt. We haven't watched it in a while, but it's pretty funny.
But if you want to look up a really funny video, look up Pinot Noir, Ode to a Black Man's Penis. It is spectacular.
It's a good song. Maybe we'll have to tag that in put that in the end. I'll see if I can find the link. Anyway, Wyest, love them. Please sponsor us because We'll take a little break halfway through, and I'll tell you how I'm liking the flavor.
It's actually called the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
There you go.
I remembered.
I knew you would. That part of your brain that can remember things. Okay, what are you tasting?
Well, I felt that today was time to let the green fairy fly. So
he's drinking
mouthwash? I'm
mouthwash?
drinking absinthe, actually. A little bit of history in absinthe. It's actually quite interesting that we have combined absinthe and wine together. And the reason is back at the turn of the last century, so like the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was a gigantic disinformation campaign sponsored by the French wine industry because aristocrats and hipsters, whatever the hipsters were back then, like, Van Gogh and all the Impressionist painters, were absinthe heads. They loved it. And the thinking was that it caused you to hallucinate. And so this legend came, it caused you to hallucinate. And actually what was probably causing him to hallucinate was a ton of mushrooms and laudanum, because those guys were no holds barred when it came to combining drugs. But of course it was the absinthe's fault, because it was actually becoming more popular than wine. And, when you distill a spirit to 60, 70% alcohol, add some aromatic herbs to it, it's a lot easier to make than wine. Like, let's be honest. And so absinthe was actually illegal in the United States till 2007.
Really? That late? I didn't realize it.
Because of this perceived hallucinogenic property from one of the substances in bitter wormwood called thujone. So there's actually more thujone, pound for pound, in sage dressing in, Thanksgiving turkey. So
really?
Yes.
I never even heard of that.
Yes. So the amount of absinthe you would have to drink to actually hallucinate, you would be on dialysis for alcohol poisoning or dead.
Mm-hmm.
So
So why don't for the listeners who've never had absinthe before, why don't you explain how it tastes?
Okay, absinthe is an incredibly strong spirit. The stuff I'm drinking is absinthe, ABSENTE, and it is kind of a middle of the road as far as potency and how premium it is. You can get this stuff gets very, very expensive quickly. Real absinthe is generally 65 to 70% alcohol, so there's a tremendous amount of alcohol in it. It has a lot of it has a little bit of bitter wormwood, and then what makes the spirit taste the way it tastes is anise, which is the licorice taste. So it's kind of like you pour. If you're totally uninitiated, it's like you added bitters and Everclear to ouzo.
Yeah, I love ouzo.
Yeah, but ouzo's like 95% sugar. This is like 70% alcohol.
Hand me the glass, because I don't drink.
Okay, that's different though.
Absinthe.
This is complete adulteration of what I'm making.
Right, but when you smell the glass, it smells delightful, and I like black licorice, and it smells like a bag of Bassett's licorice, all sorts. Heavy on the black licorice, really yummy, almost like a sambuca.
Right. And so what I have concocted, so the absinthe story for me is actually very close to my heart. So I go to a lot of rock shows, a lot of heavy metal shows. I have a group of friends I go to, and we started this thing, 10, 15 years ago, where we had what we called the Metal Brotherhood. And to be baptized into the Metal Brotherhood, you had to be anointed with absinthe, and you had to drink a straight shot. And, this is 65, 70% alcohol, and it hurts to drink it. And, our son joined it, like 11, but I'm not going to.
But he didn't drink it.
I'm taking the fifth on that. I can't remember. Absinthe was involved.
The listeners as my witness, Tim Hindmarsh.
No, he was baptized. He did not have the shot. So at any rate, that's besides the. He was anointed. Okay, because we believe
acceptable.
In immersional, full immersion baptism.
Wow, here we go.
So at any rate, the green fairy
you didn't have to squash the lime this week.
I didn't have to squash it. I had to immerse it. So the green fairy is flying. So this became a tradition. So we would add people to the group, and the group would get bigger and bigger and more diverse, and everyone went through the absinthe ceremony. So finally, about 2 years ago, because absinthe is essentially aromatic oils in alcohol, okay? So what else has aromatic oils or used to have root aromatics in it as a soft drink? Well, that would be
Root beer.
root beer. So what I'm drinking is a drink that we came up with called, we have named the Headbanger, which is root beer and absinthe combined. So when you combine any water-based substance to absinthe, because it is so oily from the aromatic, the herbs in it, it louches, which in other words, it turns cloudy. So you can, especially if you have the really high
But it doesn't
alcohol.
affect, the taste doesn't change.
Well, yeah, because you cut a lot of the alcohol out of. Traditionally, how you drink
No,
absinthe is you pour ice cold water over a sugar cube that dissolves into the absinthe. And so it's kind of like 2/3, 1/3 water to absinthe,
Right.
and then it louches out and turns almost to milk.
Right.
So that's but
so
when
it
you
looks like ouzo.
right, but when you add root beer to
It
it,
looks like dirty water.
no, it looks like diarrhea.
Yeah, it
and
does.
trust me, if you drink enough, it will look exactly the same the next morning.
I'm
Exactly
liking
the
my
same.
crisp, clear, bubbly compared to that thing you've got. But if you like yours, I like mine. Cheers. Let's get on with the show.
Let's get on with the show. So, a little bit of history, which I am a total geek on that. And if it's absinthe history plus heavy metal, sorry kids, you'll be bored because I'll be here for a long time.
Just humor 'em.
So, moving right along, kind of almost like a countdown, like we did last time with the COVIDiot Awards. We're moving on to really silly things we've heard way too many times. I mean, I think I was averaging between 4,000 and 5,000 patient visits a year when things were normal, at least in our previous practice. So we've seen a lot of things more than once, and we've been told a lot of things by patients more than once, and we've tried to debunk them very unsuccessfully.
Yeah, these are kind of general package stuff. It's not like I was reading some funny things that people have said to nurses and specific stories, which we do have those, but this is kind of more generalizations, I guess. Not so it doesn't pinpoint anybody at this point because we're still practicing our careers, HIPAA and all. We got to be careful. But the first one I'm gonna rip off the top happens to me all the time. Probably not you. I'm sorry to say, but
What the one is? Are you young enough to be a doctor? The one that you get, and
No.
you're like, I'm 54 years old.
No, I don't get. That's not me. I get. Are you old enough?
Yeah, whatever. Are
No.
you old enough to be
Young
a doctor?
enough? Yeah. Okay. Now
I get are you young enough to be a doctor? You're so freaking wrinkly.
I must admit, I don't get the last. I can't remember. I don't know how many years I haven't been getting asked this. Although with the masks on, yes. Now that I've been, wearing the mask and conversing with patients, and I talk about my adult children, and they look at me, and they're, you can see their jaw dropping in their mask and their eyes like, adult children, no way. So, yes, all the time, my whole career, how old are you? Are you old enough to be a doctor? You can't be old enough to be a doctor. And I feel like doing the Jeff Foxworthy, here's your sign. Because I feel like saying, well, clearly, I must have went to medical school, so I must be old enough to be a doctor.
Why don't you just tattoo 1966 on your forehead?
Or I feel like saying, no, I'm not old enough to be a doctor. I'm just hired help, and you got unlucky, and
I just
you've
play
been
one on
punked,
TV.
and I play one. There you go. I play one on TV. So it depends what mood I'm in when people have asked that. If I just, sometimes we have to give, like I said, we give grace to people. They're trying to make conversation. They look at it as a compliment. I understand that, but
I got one like a week ago. Thank you, God, for masks. I go in there and I was talking to the patient, and I said, well, I've done this for 28 years. And they said, did you start when you were 6?
No way.
Cackle cam.
6. Okay, if you guys see my husband, he's got a nice receding hairline.
Did you start when you were 86?
He doesn't ever wear sunscreen when he's on the mountain or on the lake. Or 6? What do they think?
Well, you were never attracted to my face. You were attracted to my gigantic intellect, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, anyway, so there you go, people. When you ask your doctor, "Are you old enough to be a doctor?" It's cute, but not always taken as a compliment. So depends, I guess, on your relationship with your doctor. But although I did start medical school when I was young, but I finished by the time everybody else would have finished because I dropped out and came back. Anyway, I guess I'll take it as a compliment because I take care of my skin. So thank you. Next one. What the heck with earwax? So I guess it's not specifically what patients say, but as much as the fixation on my ears are draining. There's some, I can feel my ears draining. Can you check out my ears? I clean my ears with the pen lid. I guess that's dating us with the big pen lids. People are fixated on their earwax, like all the time, sticking crap in there. And so I guess we see people come in all the time. They have an outer ear infection. They've been poking Q-tips in there, and then we have to explain how they got scratched, how they got a secondary infection. There's nothing really in there. Your ears are itchy. Stop sticking Q-tips and bobby pins and toothpicks, and I don't know what else they put in there.
The bottom line is, if there's a hole in a human body, someone will shove inappropriate things in it.
Yes, we've seen
Period.
Every orifice, every hole filled with something that doesn't belong there. But the earwax obsession,
like the
people must
vaginal garlic cloves.
Yeah, we're saving that one for the people. Okay, so
like honestly,
women.
really?
I'm a woman. I feel for you guys,
herbal
but there are some
remedies.
women that get obsessed with yeast infections, and some of the crazy herbal remedies and natural remedies I've seen. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's good. There you go. So the ear.
You
anyway,
will not be attacked by a vampire.
I know that everybody wants to know about the garlic cloves, but I'm chalking that one up for another episode on.
You actually saw that though. You actually saw.
Yeah. Okay, I got to tell this story briefly now. This doesn't really fit into the episode, but this lady had struggled with yeast infection that was horrific. It wasn't going away with over-the-counter cream. I don't think she had prescription medication from a physician. So she said she was doing everything she knew how in her power that she had looked up. She had been doing probiotics, and I said, "Oh, great! What are you drinking or taking? Is it kefir or what capsule?" Well, I'm not drinking it. I'm slathering the yogurt on my vagina, and I know a lot of hippie, yuppie, holistic people do topical yogurt baths, slathers, whatever you want to call it, potions on their body. And I said, well, it's really meant to be eaten. And then she said, well, I tried the probiotic capsules, but they didn't work very good either. They kept falling out. And I said, you're putting them in your vagina? Yes. So she was inserting the capsules instead of...
Shouldn't there be an owner's manual? Like, I've bought a lot of cars, and as cars advance, the systems get more complicated. And it's just like...
So then,
there should be an owner's manual. Like, there's only a couple things that should go in here ever.
Yeah, well...
period. End of story. One is on your period. The other's, after a few absinthes, if the mood allows.
Then,
garlic
okay, so this.
and
then
yogurt.
She said, okay, wait, I haven't got to the garlic. So then she said, well, I have to admit, then I tried garlic cloves, and I'm thinking... At this point, I'm not thinking she ate them. I said, you put those in your vagina too? Yes. So then I did start to laugh, and she kind of looked at me, and I said, honey, please stop sticking things in there that don't belong there. And she just kind of then laughed and kind of realized she was desperate and trying everything, and we had to talk. And yeah, there are some people that will do crazy things. I mean, I've seen...
And
I saw somebody
so.
spray moss killer on their jock itch because they thought it was an antifungal.
I just retracted all of my potential jock itch areas into my body.
The poor guy had first and very bad first-degree burns from the chemical contact on his skin. Let me just say. Anyway, so
His
yes,
very silky skin.
well, it's free of moss.
No
anyway,
moss. No moss.
So people do crazy things and tell us crazy things, but honey, if you're listening, I hope you've kept the garlic cloves out of the
Well, no, but it reminds me
spot.
of Bed Bath and Beyond. Like, and so nothing surprises me. Like I don't fault this person at all, actually, because you look at it and it's like, I remember the first or second time we went, not Bed Bath and Beyond. What was that? The place that, you got the different face creams and it was all super
Bath and Body Works.
Bath and Body Works. I walked in there and it is like literally, peanut butter this and yogurt that and whatever. And I'm like, this is a freaking salad dressing store, but you put it on your body. So no wonder people are confused. I was waiting for like the ranch dressing male enhancement cream.
There probably
Because,
is some.
popular in the South. Let's be honest.
No,
Popular in the South.
A lot of these things are third world countries sourced, which hey, no beating up Bath and Body Works. They make some really cool products that are great on your skin.
But
you don't eat it.
The ranch dressing male enhancement cream, like literally, really?
Well,
No, I just made that up. Maybe I should do that. We'd be billionaires.
American girls like ranch.
Exactly. American girls like ranch.
Anyway, along.
Everyone's happy.
Moving along. Let's talk on this one. My kidneys hurt. We love it when you come in and say my kidneys hurt, right?
Right, because what becomes very obvious is no one has a clue where their kidneys are. They think their kidneys are at their belt, when your kidneys actually, 2/3 of your kidney is under your rib cage, believe it or not.
Yeah, right. So there's a little, yeah.
And if you've ever had a kidney stone like I have, very quickly God teaches you exactly where your kidneys are.
It's fascinating to me, though, because the first thing I will usually tell them is, automatically I'm going, okay, part of their back's hurting. Do they even know where their kidneys are? Because a lot of time it is very low down in their back that they're pointing to. People don't understand where their kidneys are. They think because it hurts in their back, it's got to be that. But I'm surprised because people don't walk in and go, my spleen hurts, or my colon hurts, or my heart hurts, or pick an organ, a major organ. But I think it's bizarre how my kidneys hurt. Now, this is not specific to North America. It's actually pretty common when we were doing medical missions. We were over in the Philippines. It was super common for people to come over there and complain of their kidneys hurting, and it was a back pain. And, they have access to antibiotics over the counter. People self-treat and medicate with prescription medications because they can go to the pharmacy and get it, and they'll have backache and think it's kidney disease, and they get some Cipro and take it for 3 days, and then they develop antibiotic resistance because they really didn't need it, etc. But it's fascinating how my kidneys hurt is like a common thing for a generalized backache. And you might have pyelonephritis and your kidney might be hurting, but you have to be pretty sick for your kidney to be hurting. And so we're not, I guess, laughing at it as much as it's a fascinating how people choose to say that. I would never think.
The only time I've said my kidney hurts is when my kidney hurt.
So
It really hurt
You're a
bad.
doctor, you know better. So patients listening, kidneys, yes, are up under your rib cage. All major organs are protected behind bony structures. So kidneys are up.
Giant muscles.
Yes. So
that's why most of your liver.
And if your
most of your liver is under your rib cage as well,
Yep.
unless, of course, you've had a tremendous amount of absinthe, in which case, maybe 2/3 of it is below your rib cage.
So if your kidneys are actually hurting, you're usually pretty sick. You'll have a fever. You'll be very, very ill.
Or you have a kidney stone, in which case you're just praying to God that a meteor crushes you.
You're really hurting then. It's a mild backache is your back. Next one. I have bronchitis, Dr. Tim, I have bronchitis.
But you know what?
And I get the bronchitis every year.
I get the bronchitis every year. This time of year, the only thing that works is, you guessed it, Zithromax.
That magical Z-Pack.
The magical Z-Pack. You know, the thing that gets me about this is we own this as physicians. And I have broken the code. When patients come in and they're like, I've been sick. I have been sick for 3 weeks. I'm still coughing, blah, blah, blah. So I take the whole history. When did you have a fever? 2 weeks ago. Do you have a fever now? No. Are you short of breath? No. Et cetera, et cetera. But I'm still coughing. I must need antibiotics. And so I'm like, no, the problem is the normal cold lasts a couple weeks. People think the normal cold lasts a few days because often you'll get a bit of a sore throat and the sniffles. You think it's a cold and you're better in 2 days. And so that was a cold. No, the normal, real, honest to God, upper respiratory tract infection lasts for 2 or 3 weeks and you can cough for a month. That's not unusual. It's not bad. If you get a fever late in the course, so you have a fever at the beginning of the illness, day 2 or day 3, and then you keep coughing and you have a fever again at day 10, absolutely you need to be seen. That could be a secondary pneumonia. But it becomes bronchitis. And we did this to patients because we wanted a way to make people go away. And the fastest way to make people go away is to give them antibiotics.
Give them something and make them happy.
It's to give them antibiotics.
It's like Halloween. It's like they showed up, they expect something, they come to traditional medicine doctors and they are looking for antibiotics.
Right. It's like when you were the little kid and you were the poor bastard that went to the kid's house whose dad was the dentist and they gave out toothbrushes for Halloween. Really? Like honestly, if you were not
the dentist that literally lived down the street from me, my dentist was the best candy giver. 2 giant chocolate bars each.
No, but even that, it's bad business.
No,
What you want as a dentist, if you're giving away candy, is you want the most horrific toffee that pulls out every crown and
right.
every filling. Like that, are you kidding? Like that is, especially in a small town, that is brilliant. That's a moneymaker.
I know,
these guys would be terrible drug dealers.
So first off, though, bronchitis, people don't understand what even the word bronchitis means. I mean,
it means you have a viral infection. And now I have a word that will make us both have our consciences be clear as I give you an antibiotic you don't need.
So bronchitis is itis. So this is all the people that are medical coders and know terminology. Bronchial tubes are, bronchi. Itis is inflammation of. So it's an inflammation of the bronchial tubes. So it can be from a virus. It can be from bacteria. But in most healthy people without chronic pulmonary disease, it's usually viral. So if you have not had a high fever and you don't have COPD or underlying lung conditions, it's the majority of the time, like 90% of the time in people, it is viral, even anything under 2 weeks. So the second you get sick, coming in saying, I got the bronchitis, we'll go, yeah, you have bronchitis. But
you know why?
Need to have
Do you know why they come in really fast?
Because they need it right away.
Because they got bronchitis and ain't nobody got time for that.
No, it's because
ain't nobody got time for that.
If they get the Z-Pack now, they'll be better in 5 days. And so you know what? Here, let's do the myth busting on the Z-Pack thing now that we're on it. So the Z-Pack, why does it always work? That's the other thing I wrote on our list here. The Z-Pack always works because
you take it for 5 days.
And they would have gotten better anyways.
In 5 days.
Yeah. So it's a correlation.
We're
not
you know
cure.
what? We're idiots. We should come up with a mystery viral hocus pocus BS free MD pack and just sell it over the internet, and everyone will get better in 5 days. We'll be billionaires, and we'll be laughing at them.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, we need some really good snake oil, and we're actually trying to read all these studies and do evidence based medicine. Really,
and people want the snake oil because
I know. Like
better.
Maybe we should just sell snake oil. It's like, well, I you know what? Dr. Hindmarsh's ranch flavored male enhancement cream. That is genius.
See, I don't like ranch, so we got to work on that.
Well, but you could culturally appropriate it based on which cultures, right? Like, so if you're, like seriously, right? Like if you were in different cultures, you could say, like maybe in parts of sub-Saharan Africa, it would be like wildebeest flavored male enhancement cream.
Mm-hmm.
But in sub-Saharan Africa, they probably don't need any male enhancement. But, that's different.
Ooh.
Well,
I'm just speechless.
Norway. I mean, it tastes like, kippers.
I'm blushing, and we're doing a podcast, for heaven's sakes. Oh, my gosh. Can we
First
move?
doctors to be kicked off the Doctor Podcast Network.
Can we move? Can we move on? I have a sinus infection. So this one's a touchy one, mostly because I guess this isn't really crap that patients say that makes us laugh. Because, yes, sinus infections are kind of tricky to sort out. But I must say that the second you get a cold, you have a runny nose, and your left nostril so plugged that you couldn't, snort even the Dristan up there. It doesn't mean you have
No one in the United States has a clue what Dristan is.
Oh.
Afrin.
Afrin. See, this is the...
It's been here for almost 30 years.
Well, they're going to
honest
appreciate it. I mean, people watch British TV and laugh at the jokes. I'm Canadian. I can't help it.
Yeah, but the Americans get like a third of the British jokes. We get 2/3, and the British people get all of them.
I'm sorry.
You're Siri? You are Siri.
My Canadian pals that are listening, like 3 of them, will laugh. Okay. So the second your nose is so plugged that you can't even snort the saline or the Afrin or your decongestant of choice does not mean you have a bacterial infection in there necessarily. And so this is also a bad thing. Along with the bronchitis, doctors they want you to feel better. They want you to be happy. It's easy for them to throw something your way, the magic fairy dust of Z-Pak or amoxicillin, and make you go away. But most of the time it's viral. There are ways we can tell the difference. This is not meant to be a medical education show about sinusitis, but if you have fever, you've had sinus procedures, you know that you have brown, thick, mucousy pus coming out of your nose. There's a few other things, but
the big giveaway in a true sinus infection, if you've never had one, is you usually almost always get dental pain.
Yes,
and it hurts like hell to bend over and like tie your shoes.
Yes,
for people that
and it's usually localized
right.
to one spot of your face.
Right.
If it's all across your forehead or both
and it's
cheeks.
Weeks. It's
yes.
It's minimum of 2 weeks.
And
it's
why
longer.
is that? Why is it 2 weeks, Tim?
Because it's a secondary infection,
right.
so you have to plug
yes.
up the bony cavity that is the sinus, and then you have to let it get infected, which takes a while. I mean, it's essentially stagnating fluid. Now,
I like to describe it to people as you get a cold, you get a virus, you get all your mucus being produced, and then it's kind of like the moss pond or the mosquito pond where then bacteria has to grow, you're right, secondarily in that wet environment.
Right. And the only time I kind of fudge the timing of treating somebody, like less than 2 weeks, is if they've had a ton of infections, it's documented, they've had procedures, et cetera, at which point it just becomes ridiculous to wait, because they're going to be back and they're going to be really sick.
Right. That's not very common. I am one of those people. I do try to wait it out, but anyway, so the education piece of this, as much as we're laughing along with you, is that when you get a cold and you're plugged up, it doesn't mean you need antibiotics right away. You, yes, have a viral sinus infection. You can say I have a sinus infection, but you probably don't need antibiotics unless you have an underlying condition.
The bottom line is this. Colds suck. They last a really long time.
And people don't want to suffer in America.
Right. If you do not have a persistent fever or are short of breath, if you are short of breath, it doesn't really matter what you have. You need to be seen.
Right.
They've done research on people going into an ER with serious conditions, and shortness of breath, like honest to God, I can't breathe, is way more common for a serious diagnosis than chest pain, which makes sense because there's a whole bunch of really non-important reasons for chest pain. If you really can't breathe, you need to be seen. If it sucks because you're coughing all night, but you don't have a fever and you otherwise feel good, it's a cold, and colds suck.
Speaking of colds and shortness of breath, the next little thing that people come in, okay, this one, I must say, it bugs everybody in the medical profession. Doctor, nurse, I have a fever, and my fever is... So,
Okay,
first
so-
of all, fever. My fever is not a thing. My fever is fever.
You don't get your own fever. Period. Here's the deal. Water boils at 220 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees centigrade, or Celsius, depending on where you live. A fever is 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything less than that is not a fever. Anything over that is a fever. It is an objective measure. And people come in and they say, I usually run 96.5. So my temperature of 99.1 is a fever. No, it's not. Secondarily, do you check your freaking temperature every day? And if you do, honest to God, I don't want to live on the same block as you because you are a weirdo. I don't want to know you. I don't want to party with you. I don't want to do anything with you. Who does that? The only people I know that by prescription check their temperatures every single day are women trying to time ovulation so that they can get pregnant. And when an 85-year-old comes in and says, my temperature is normally 95 and now it's 97 and I have a fever, I'm like, you're not getting pregnant!
Someone's getting a little judgy.
No, I'm getting very judgy.
So,
because who the hell does that? I haven't checked my temperature. I was supposed to check my temperature every day since COVID, and I haven't checked it. Honest to God, it feels like since the Carter administration. Because
I do
it's
wonder
stupid.
how these people So there's a big thing with temperature. I'd love to do a podcast on it because temperature varies. Right, we don't all fit into the curve. There are some people on one end of the curve where, yes, your basal body, your normal resting temperature is lower than the average of 98.6 degrees. So, yeah, you might have a normal temperature of 98.
What is the
But you know what? How many people come in and say to us, my normal temperature is 99.2. Nobody. Actually, I know one person. It's somebody we work with. She does run hot. Her temperature is higher. Her resting temperature is higher, and someone, she's at 99.6. She's like, I don't have a fever. I feel fine. But how many patients do ever come in and say, no, mine is normally like high? None. I don't understand it either. Seriously, it drives me nuts because people, like, what are they? I agree with you. Are they taking their temperature every day, or is they basing it on when they come into the doctor's office and I don't know, it's low and someone didn't stick the? I think if people aren't measuring their temperature properly, they're not sticking the ear thermometer in all the way.
I think that we should do a
they're
giant
not putting
study.
the rectal thermometer in there all the way.
I think we should fix this. I think we should fix this by bringing back the true core temperature, which is the rectal thermometer.
Oh my gosh! I know, but people are using those stickers on their forehead and the swipies, and you come in from outside where it's 50 below, and you stick that little thermal scanner. You're gonna read, that your temperature's 30 degrees centigrade or 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's 100.4.
I wish people would just stop. Do people ever come in and go, my resting heart rate's normally whatever, and people are so fixated on their temperatures. It's just the weirdest thing. But everybody's always running low, and they get offended if you tell them they're normal.
I had a patient, and I said, "Sir, temperature is an objective measure," and I was very polite because I hadn't had any absinthe, and I said, "Temperature is an objective measure. 212 is where water boils. 100.4 is the definition.
I would have loved a bit of fly in the room
of a fever. And your temperature is 98.9, so you don't have a fever." And his response was, "Everyone is entitled to their opinion." Yeah, but you know what? You're paying for mine.
That's your opinion, and he doesn't
Everyone
value it. That's like
is entitled to their
slapping,
opinion.
That's a slap in the face. That's doctor slap. I just slapped you in the face. Yeah, with my words. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Right, and then he went out to his car and he got into it, and his check engine light had a frickin' piece of tape on it.
How do you know that?
Well, that's conjecture.
Oh, that's your opinion.
That's my opinion.
That's your opinion. Oh, can you tell everyone that this bugs us? Please, please, please. Temperature is an objective sign, and nobody fits in a box, but we use a distinct definition for when your pulse is too high, when your blood pressure is too high, and when your temperature is too high. So we appreciate some input, but don't.
Just like what we talked about in previous podcasts about pain being the fifth vital sign.
Yeah. Is that? Do you want to talk about that one?
Well, it's just
pain.
like that.
I have
again, something we did, something we own as a medical profession and regulators, completely stupid. We took a completely subjective perception and made it objective. You can't do that. That's lying. And so, but then what you get is you get people that come in and they think that somehow if they tell us it's a 10, they're going to get like a limitless, like a lifelong, like the Willy Wonka golden ticket to the Percocet factory, right? And so they come in and then it's like, well, it's a 10. And I'm like, okay, here's the deal. You're texting. You're sitting with your legs crossed. You're not sweating. You have a normal blood pressure. You have a normal heart rate. And you're not on fire. So guess what? It's not a 10. I'm not smelling any frickin' smoke.
And with that, we have the dog sign.
The positive dog. Our dog is our producer. She's 12 years old, and she lays in here in our studio when we do these. And the last yelling, she's like, I'm out. Seacrest out. So
she is exit stage left. Wow.
She's like,
that's crazy. So maybe you need to dial that down a little.
I don't know. I think the yelling's pretty endearing.
Therapeutic.
Well, it's incredibly therapeutic. But along with that, along with pain is the fifth vital sign. And if I don't smell smoke and feel heat, I don't believe you, is I have a high tolerance to pain.
Right. That goes hand in hand with. So when people say that, when you tell us that, the first thing we think of, physicians listening, what are you thinking?
You're a drug addict.
Yeah, well, the first thing we think is you are drug-seeking medications. So it's not really cool and not a good idea to tell your doctor, I have a high pain tolerance, but this is we can tell when people have a high pain tolerance. We can tell what's going on. We know what your medical condition is when we're diagnosed, what's going on. And then we can see your vital signs because your body responds to pain. And if the vital signs are crazy and you're wigging out, I'm like, you're not managing very well.
Yeah, there's objective reasons. Like, okay, I drove myself home from work with a kidney stone, and then I worked 12 hours the next day. I drove myself to the hospital with a ruptured appendix, and I've run 12 marathons. I probably objectively have a reasonably high pain tolerance.
Yeah, that's
I would never
ridiculously stupid.
Well, I'm not saying I don't have a ridiculously stupid.
But yes, you have a high pain tolerance.
But I would never say that to anybody because how do I measure that? Because I haven't hung out with like what's his name, Richard Goggins, that ran like 100-mile race with a broken leg.
Right.
So I mean,
it's very subjective as well. People think there's a high pain tolerance, but something that they require that they're saying that they need pain medication for, and I'm like, well, I had a hip replacement, and I'm comparing in my brain what I use for my pain to theirs. I mean,
but that's a problem. But
anyway, it's very different.
They may legitimately have 10 times more perception of pain than you do. I can't judge that. Like, it's impossible to judge it. You can't do a study for it. You can't verify.
No, but when you're sitting, I agree. When you're sitting there and you're texting, you're talking calmly, and you say it's 10 out of 10, and then we just go, well, this is a joke because I love that photographic. It's not photograph. The pictorial description of what pain should be, and we should just hand that to people and say, pick one of these. So, it's like, of course, 10 out of 10 is somebody on fire, and 9 out of 10 is like a grizzly bear ripping their limb off with blood shooting out everywhere. 0 is like somebody meditating.
But there are...
And so I've said to people, so if, look at 10 out of 10 is like you having a baby or you like on fire, are you really 10 well, no, that would be 20 out of 10. I mean, come on.
Well, there isn't 20 out of 10. You don't know how to do math. If you want a second opinion, you're dumb. So the thing is that there is, I'm calling BS on myself because there is objective measures of pain. Like there are. And, you see somebody in their agony and they're writhing around and their blood pressure is elevated and their heart rate's elevated and all the rest of it. That's objective. I mean, we've been in the operating room and you'll sit there and I've done anesthesia residencies, not residency, but rotations rather. And you watch and they'll sit there and they're going to adjust the amount of, fentanyl that the patient gets, sufentanil, because this part of the procedure is really painful. Well, the patient's unconscious. And, then, the surgeon starts sawing off chunks of their knee joint for a total joint and putting on, the prosthesis and whacking it with a hammer.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, it's probably pretty damn painful. And you look and their blood pressure starts to go up and their heart rate starts to go up because they're perceiving the pain objectively, but they're unconscious. You had a case, only case ever in our career, of tetanus.
I've had 2 tetanus, actually.
And it was fascinating because this person had, they would have no blood pressure and virtually no heart rate. Unbelievable because of the infection. And she had this incredibly gouty finger or toe. And if you went over, again, totally unconscious, completely sedated in an ICU setting, and you went and wiggled this objectively painful joint, blood pressure would go through the roof.
Right.
Heart rate would go to 120. So, really? I have a high pain tolerance and I'm texting and your heart rate's 60?
No, I know.
You have a high tolerance for Percocet. Sorry, you do.
Yeah, we can tell who has a high pain tolerance and who doesn't. There you go.
Do you know who does? Every single time I've worked in an ER or an ICU setting and I saw somebody walk through the door with a gigantic belt buckle, cowboy boots, and a cowboy hat, holding his belly with a grimace on his face. You didn't even have to do a CT scan. You just called the surgeon.
Yes, you're like, okay.
Because that guy's trying his hardest to die.
Yeah. Agreed.
Positive belt buckle sign.
So, you finished off your cocktail. How was it?
Well, it's a headbanger. It's spectacular.
Any different tastes you want to comment on before I give my last funny story?
No. I mean, I think that absinthe is something that
makes the heart grow fonder.
Well, it does.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, man, the cackle cam is blowing up today. Yeah, it does. It does for me though, because every time I smell it, I just feel like I'm going to a show. And since with COVID, I haven't gone to a show in 18 months. It just kind of staves off the feelings of complete and utter despair.
It meets a need. Well, my Reserve Chardonnay, this is really nice. It's, as I've got to the bottom of my glass, and I put a little piece of wax in, unfortunately. It's got a really nice, I'm tasting the lemon in here a little bit more, so it's a winner. So check out Y Yeast Vineyards. I would love for you to be our sponsor as well, but you guys will love their wine. It's top notch. So I've got a funny last story I want to share with everybody and let you know what it is before we go. So this is on funny things people say. Back in the day when I was doing family practice, I was working. My nurse was taking a phone call from a patient, and my office was literally just right across from her desk. And I could hear her on the phone, desperate, with this beautiful little old lady patient of mine who had this horrific yeast infection. And I had sent her in some medication, and she was calling and talking to my nurse. And I could hear my nurse saying, well, what has been the problem? Let's call her Mabel. Mabel, with the medication. I don't understand why you're having trouble. And I could hear her saying, well, Dr. Hindmarsh, sent in the ovules for you to use for that yeast infection. And what do you mean you can't, you're having trouble with the ovules? So for people that don't know what ovules are, they are moderately sized, egg-shaped little bundles of medication that are soft and creamy, that are firm at room temperature but dissolve with heat. Think of coconut oil, and contain medication, and commonly used for rectal suppositories like Anusol, ovules, or vaginal things. So
this is something.
So Mabel had a yeast infection
that you're supposed to actually put in your vagina, unlike garlic.
Yes. So Mabel had a yeast infection, and I sent her in some ovules to use. Well, my nurse was quickly finding out when she said to Mabel, honey, the ovules, what do you mean they're hard to swallow? Well, okay, now I hope you're laughing. Mabel did not know that these large things that she had trouble swallowing were meant to go inside the vagina. She thought she would just swallow this giant egg-shaped mini Cadbury egg-sized ovule, and she had a tough time. And so we had a little laugh because I knew when I could hear the conversation what was happening. So,
but most of those things, just like you mentioned, the Anusol suppository, come in a foil package. And when you peel, like they come in a line and you peel them off. And like the edges of the foil are similar to like a saw blade.
Oh, very much so.
And we had a guy
oh, no.
in another country who had hemorrhoids. And we wrote him a prescription for Anusol suppositories. And he shoved them in the correct area with the foil on.
Ouch.
Now, that one, if he would have said, my pain was a 9 out of 10, I would have believed him.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
And on that note, thanks for humoring us with our corny humor and things we find entertaining. We hope you guys like us. If you like this episode, please share it with your friends. We will continue to try another Doctales with Cocktails episode monthly for your entertainment purposes. And remember, we're on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening right now. And occasionally we do live streams on Facebook. And you can see us there in person where we answer a lot of questions. And you can interact with us there. Anything else you want to say, Tim?
No, we appreciate it. Please give us a listen. Even if it's for 15 seconds, that counts as a download, and we want a whole bunch of those. So look us up at bsfreemd.com. Email doc@bsfreemd.com. And as always, we'll see you next Thursday.
It's no secret that medicine is a bit, uptight. That's why Tim and I created BS Free MD, to mix things up a little and have fun in the process. Besides, we are having these exact same discussions all the time, so we thought we might as well invite everyone to the party. If you really like us, you can get plenty more, and maybe see one of Tim's cool tattoos on our Instagram or Facebook pages at BS Free MD. See you next time.
But we try to keep BS Free MD as raw and real as possible. We can't be held responsible for any medical decisions or discussions had as a result of what you've heard on the show. We know, bummer. But the truth is, we really do care about your questions. So feel free to reach out to us by email at doc@bsfreemd.com.